Okay, we're live. Finally, again. After a while of not being live, or being online at all. It's raining just a little bit out here. It was sunny for so long. We had great weather. Just insane. It's fantastic. Sunny, hot, sometimes too hot. Dry, really dry, easy to. Here for the start, you sure are. Just taking a break. I've just finished trimming up 5 horses, and it got me thinking a lot about some hoof stuff. And hello, everybody. Maureen and Marianne. Elzbieta. I like that name. I've never seen it before. It's a really big deal, the trim stuff. My Life Rodeo, hello. And so I want to talk about trim stuff, hoof stuff, because it's I mean the hey Susan, the general trimming world. And hi Sue. I bring this up because I just I had a new client call me up to come trim a horse, and she started talking about the schedule that she was on for her horse, and how, I mean, his feet were weird. I don't even know a good way to explain it other than they look like they're in between an in-between of an in-between, reversal or fix, maybe. It's really hard to say. The funny thing was, I was actually coming in late to the trim. She'd been very busy, couldn't get somebody to trim her horse in time or something, and so I'd come in, and maybe due to the fact that the horse had finally been let off of its original trimmer, it was actually recovering from that and doing the top growth. Anyways, we'll get into that pretty soon. Okay. I've got my questions on my phone, so if I look down, it's mainly because I'm checking out my phone to see what has come through. Lots of questions. I haven't had any time to sit and do Q&A, to do questions or answer in comments, but I hope to get to that later on this evening. I've got a couple of videos coming up soon. A lot of them just some horsey playtime. Put the girls in the arena, and Gracie was nuts. She's a lot of fun. Watching her is a heck of a lot of fun. And then the other one is going to be the catch up to, well, Teresa, you're here. Hi Teresa, and Crystal, hello. One of them is going to be the catch up to phase 5 and everything that was done, mostly back there. If you guys know where I am in the yard, I'm talking about way back that way in this area here. And so wow, there, it's a big deal because the area back there was just totally useless, and even now it's not that useful because I've essentially dug up a lot of clay to sort of fill in the land and make it a usable space. But because it's clay, it gets pretty mushy whenever it gets wet. When it's dry, it's fine. So I'll be talking about some ideas and solutions for that hopefully don't cost a lot of money pretty soon. But so 2 things. One, I apologize for not being able to get to so many comments lately, but if anybody had anything that was super important they wanted to talk about, go ahead, bring it up here. A lot of people just write a lot of really nice things, and that's really, it's nice to read. Definitely, I read every one of them and I look at them and I think, that's really nice, thanks. Yeah. Working hard, very hard, which comes with the territory with getting an excavator, because it costs per day. I actually got a question about how you get an excavator and what does it cost, and the the general in general, it's done by the day, unless you are getting an excavator with a person, and then it's usually by the hour. In both cases, you usually have to pay for what is called a transportation fee or a delivery fee. So you have to have the machine brought to the property, and every contractor and every rental place has the same thing. They all charge whatever amount, 50 bucks, 75 bucks, 100 bucks, depending on the size of the machine, to transport it to your place. So you've got a transportation fee that exists. And then on top of that, if you have a person with the machine, then it's by the hour. And usually it's a 4-hour minimum if you have a person. If you rent the machine, it's by the day, and depends on the size of the machine and stuff like that. So because it's a daily thing and not an hourly thing, you can kind of use it. I mean, they give you a limit on how many hours you could use it. But they're not too sticky. The place I rent from all the time, so they're pretty good about just being flexible. So generally it's about 8 hours. You get about 8 hours on a machine, and then you have to maybe pay extra. You pay for all the gas, and it's up to you to sort of maintain it, because you got to grease some certain parts that move a lot, and so anyways, back to that, it's a day price. You just work your butt off. You essentially just use it as much as you can while you've got it, because excavators are invaluable. Anybody who's on this channel who has property, has acreage, you'll know that if you have a machine, everything is better and easier. So unless it's muddy, and then you're not going to get anything done either way. But it's been so dry. It was perfect conditions to work. So much has been done back there. I'm going to try to extend out the Wi-Fi again, because when it rains, I have to put it back under cover a little further. So bandwidth wise, it doesn't seem to do as well. But I'll get that fixed, and then we'll get back there soon and talk a little bit more about it. You guys can ask some questions if you want. So coffee break for me after those 5 horses. Here, Samantha. Hi, Samantha. Trimming all these horses here. I trim all of them, I think. Yep, 9 horses. I've done 5, so 4 more to go. Probably not today. I'll probably do tomorrow. There's a lot of conversation about. I just saw an ad today for a person that was looking for an apprentice, and the qualifications were to be able to do, I think, between 5 and 8 shoeings. Yeah, full out shoeings, I think, per day. And that's a lot. I mean, if you spend the whole day, I suppose it's not too bad. You know, if you spend 8 to 10 hours working at your job and you did 6 to 8 horses, that's not too bad at all. But when you're trying to get them done one after another, it's pretty tiring. Farrier work is hard work, and anyways, not my favorite part of my job, but important. Feet are very important. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to make sure that I catch up on, I think I've got 57 comments that if not more, because some of them, they're just notifications, so they show up as a number. If I read them, the number goes down. Anyways, there's tons in here. So I'm just going to work my way down, and I'll answer some questions. Hopefully anybody who's paying attention to the channel has written something. They come on here and find out that the questions got answered. Bonnie asks, what is that high bar at the entrance to the covered arena? Is it high enough if a horse was to rear up? When you get round pen panels, there's 2 different kinds of gates. There's a walk-through and a ride-through. And the walk-through ones are different than the ride-through ones. I have what's called a ride-through one. It's bigger. And so the top bar is actually there for structural strength. It has no purpose other than to support the whole gate itself. It's a large gate. It's a 6 foot. I think it's a 6 foot gate. And so because it's so big, there has to be some structure at the top. Otherwise the whole thing would bend in, right? You've got they're panels, so they're meant to stand alone. And so that high bar at the very top is to hold the whole structure together. So round pen panels, the panels themselves are just 4 or 5 bar. I think they even make 6 bar ones. They come in light, medium, and heavy duty, which is different thicknesses of metal and different welds. So the ones that I have are heavy duty and powder coated, so not galvanized, and they're great quality. I got a good deal. I know somebody who works at the fencing and gate place where I buy all my stuff from, so I usually get a pretty good deal for them. So that's what that high bar is for. It's not horse for any rearing. I have my own thoughts about the idea that if a horse is in an enclosure and it feels like it has to rear and try to climb the fence, in my opinion, the person working the horse 95% of the time is doing something wrong. The other 5%, sometimes there just isn't anything you can do to calm them down or keep them off the fence, and sometimes they'll climb up that fence a little bit and you got to work a little to bring them back down. I've seen some really good stuff out there where somebody's done not very much and the horse has been trying to climb and get out, and then it's up to you with good timing and good control to make sure they don't climb the gate, they don't try to leap over and rear up. And anyways, but there's a lot of stuff that I have seen where I've watched people just freak horses out and then they're just trying to climb up and over and get out. It's not a good scene. Okay, moving on to the next question. Good question, Bonnie. Very good question. You don't, if you're not in the business, if you don't, I mean, I didn't know when I first got introduced to round pens and I saw different types of round pens. So what's the difference between this one and that one? Why is the gate like this? Why is it this big round? Do you get a 40 foot? Do you get a 50 foot? Do you get a 60 foot? Do you get an 80 foot? How big of a round? I mean, I've seen 100-foot round pens. They're huge. They're massive. They're just a round arena, in my opinion. At that point, 100-foot, it's big. So I had a lot of questions too in the beginning. So questions are great. Keep asking them. Alice says to take more breaks because that's the mothering qualities in her. Thanks, Alice. I do try to take breaks. Again, when it comes to doing this stuff, there's a lot of satisfaction to getting things done and being productive. And I don't know if you guys can hear the birds. They're chitter-chattering everywhere. But anyways, anyhow, so thank you. I do try to take a break. I'm pretty exhausted after the 5 days, and now I'm just kind of coming down out of that and catching up on everything. Obviously, trimming horses, cleaning up. Hay's been organized. I picked up some alfalfa. I don't think I've talked about that. Yeah, lots going on. So, okay. Danielle over at Summerfield Farm says property is beautiful. She has 9 acres and wonders what I would do with that kind of space. Well, this place is 5 acres, and I've really only worked on probably 2.5 of it. So what would I do? I don't know. It depends on the lay of the land. This place is mostly, it is mostly forest. So that back area is going to stay forest. I don't want to develop this whole thing. I think that would be a waste. I like the trees. They're a little bit worrisome because they fall down for sure, and it's a little scary and stuff, but for the most part they stay up. They stay standing, so that's good. And it's really nice, good atmosphere, good shade, good, all good. So, and it's nice to go walking around on trails. So I think I'll leave those. Oh yeah, a lot of people commented on that big hemlock stump that was back there in the last video I put up, next to the covered arena. And I had thought the same thing. I had thought about having somebody come and carve it, or make some, some kind of sculpture out of it and whatnot. But actually the inside is totally rotten. What you were looking at is 3 or 4 sort of roots coming up, and the center was hollow, and then it finally came to where it was solid. So it actually wouldn't have worked out as much as I wanted to do that. When I went to go cut it at the bottom, and I'll show in a video one day, you'll see that there's just these 3 sort of large roots that are coming up. And they sort of combine into the, anyways, it wouldn't have worked out. Cut it down, removed it, it's gone. Got to make a road back there anyways. So for everybody that commented to make a cool sculpture, it's dying to be carved up, I'd agreed until I actually looked at it. So wouldn't have worked out. Yeah. I hear a lot of people are getting a lot of rain. We've only got our first day of rain now today. It rained most of the day. What time is it now? It's 4 o'clock. So it rained from early morning until about a couple hours ago. Got everything wet. That's about it though. So not us though. We get a lot of sun right now. Is there any work that can be done with a team of horses? W. Rice had asked. It's an interesting thought. Yeah, you could probably pull some stuff around, but if you have an excavator, there's no use for having horses pull stuff around and doing anything, because you gotta harness them up, and you gotta, I don't have anything like that to do that with either. So I would have to go buy a harness, then I have to hook up to them, then I have to figure out a way to hook them up so that they can go, and then they gotta pull stuff around. You gotta make sure to direct them. It would be fun, it'd be interesting, but that back area will be used for things like that when I get it better. It'll be sort of a place that you can go and we can go and wreck and move some logs around and all kinds of stuff. So it'll be fun. Somebody said that baby Gracie reminds, who said it? Maureen, you said this. Looks like a baby, like a Justin Bieber flicking. She shakes her head around quite a bit. I was actually working with her yesterday to continue to get her and be okay touching her head. Hi, Jean. And Patricia. Oh, you have to go. Oh, you're already gone. She's still a little touchy on some parts. If I come over top, or if I come over from one side and I sort of go over the top and reach down the other side, she gets pretty worried. I guess she's been in a headlock or something before and doesn't like it. So, I don't know. So still working with her on head shyness for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. So, hey, Olive's dream. You're always looking, when you're working with horses, you're just sort of hoping that they start off where they ended off. So you're concentrating a lot on where they end off rather than where they start. You just think, well, let's do this again and again and again. Okay, moving on. Whoops, I just deleted I just removed a notification. Somebody asked if macaroni needs free minerals. Yeah, sometimes horses do need salt and minerals. Is that a trough of coffee? It's bigger than it looks. It's actually, it's not that much. I drink a lot of coffee though, so maybe it's not that much to me. I'm not really catching all of the comments in here. I want to see what's coming through. Teresa, goodness, thank you again. You're far too generous. Online shopping for grass? I've got a pile of grass seed here. It's Timothy, if you want some. Let's see. Marianne says, first thing I did when I got my horse to make sure the farrier would come the next week and do a checkup of trim. She was still shod for winter on 3 legs. Pulled off the 3 shoes ourselves. They discovered she'd lost the shoe. We came to pick her up. Shoe loss. That's a whole other topic. I guess we'll leave that one alone for now. Well, good for you. Good thing you got things figured out and checked on and whatnot. Scrolling through Teresa, thank you very much. Always wonder what that bar was for. I thought it was to make sure that you're wearing your horse helmet. Yeah, no, it's just there to support the whole thing. So, it's raining there, eh? It's raining a little here. Would you say that Arabians throw their heads more than other breeds? I have seen standardbreds chuck their heads around quite a bit. Arabians a little bit. I don't know what it's from exactly. I don't know if it's a breed thing or it's got to be partially learned thing. We've seen a lot of breeds here, and I'd say standardbreds and Arabians are the only ones that I've really noticed do that. But horses will throw their heads around when they're used to being able to sort of push or, you know, shove people around, or if you're riding and they sort of throw their head around, that's usually from some bad riding hands with poor timing. So every horse can do that. Every horse can sort of chuck their head or their nose or something like that when you're riding. But just when they're going out and doing nothing, it is a little unusual. I'd say far less horses than horses that do it. So maybe, I'd say maybe 10% of the horses that I've experienced do that kind of thing. I don't know if it's a breed thing. Good question. Yeah. Let's see. Live chat. There we go. Gene says, when I first got my boy, he wouldn't let me touch his head or face. Now I can check his ears, no problem. Ears are a big deal, and you really should be checking your horse's ears, making sure that they're clean, no scrapes, no cuts, no. Sometimes you'll find an old scab or something like that, and it's still a little, you know, it might be a little pussy or something, or sort of gathering some material on it, kind of thing. So checking the ears is really important. If you've got a head shy horse, you won't have any luck doing that. They hated their ears being touched when they're scared. But when they like it, you've seen Lena, she sort of leans in and says, well, scratch a little more. And so Kathy asks, what's the Appaloosa mare's name? Right there. That's Ruli. She doesn't have, oh, comment's gone. Oh well. I answered your question even though you deleted it. Nightfire Moving Picture says, probably lost weight due to some of his health issues the past few weeks. Because somebody asked, Carol asked, did Roni lose weight? I think I answered this last. I don't even know. I don't think Roni's lost a lot of weight per se. Maybe a little bit of muscle, so in other words weight, but I don't think it's, I think when he was standing next to Lena, somebody said he looks a little bit smaller, but he wasn't exercising as much, so I don't think he was able to maintain his mass. When he goes in the arena every day and runs around with Luke and stuff like that, he builds really easily. He's like one of those kids that you see at the schoolyard, like, you must exercise a lot, look at how ripped you are, you know. Some kids are just ridiculous. And so I think that's him, you know, because he's only 7. So he's just reaching pretty close to the end of his growing phase. And as such, I think that his body is just set to grow really easily. Luke's coming into himself quite a bit too. He's so gangly before, but now he's coming together. Anyhow, there's so many comments. I don't even know how to get to all of these. I will try to respond to all of these. There's water on the screen. It's not moving. There was a question on whether or not. Okay, I'm done here. Whether or not Lena was sort of hiding behind me when she was out with, who's she out with? She was out with Ohana, I think. Can't remember now. And she'd come over to me, and then oh yeah, it was Ohana, because I was trying to chase her off, and I was getting told no, she would like to move me, which got into the topic of pushy horses. And I do think that horses, I have seen it. I actually have very much experienced horses hide behind their owners, which is interesting. They have to hide behind behind a human, not another horse, to get away from another horse or even another human. I find that really fascinating, actually, quite fascinating when I see that happen. So. It's not that big. It's sort of the equivalent of a large coffee, I suppose. The cup is very thick. It's about that thick of a cup, so because it's insulated. So good question though. Don't drink so much coffee, right? Probably bad for me. Okay, moving on. Okay, I'm gonna work up the list here of questions. Marianne said I got a completely unrelated question on rope halters. Is there anything specific you look for on a rope halter? Whoops. Come back. Or are they more or less the same depending on the material? You know what I'm going to do? I don't like staring at the camera like that. It's weird. So I'm just going to pull up the live stream here. Rope halters, is there anything specific I look for? Yes, absolutely. There are different types of rope halters out there that you will find feel better. You will find they make a better knot. You will find that they bend better. You will find that they're stronger. You will find that the knot holds better. You will find that it doesn't stretch or it does stretch. So the three things I look for most. One, does it fit? You know, is it the right size? Two, I don't want any stretch in the rope. Some of them you'll buy and they're weird. They're strangest rope halters I've ever seen. They'll stretch out and they'll stay stretched out. They'll just be stretched out crappy. Usually the ones where the rope itself doesn't feel like it has much density to it. It doesn't have to be thick, but it should be dense. So I'm looking for one that feels dense. That's noisy. But it's not stiff. So I want dense but not stiff. I want all the knots tight and almost as if they've been mechanically pulled. I want them tight so they're not loosening whatsoever. I don't want to see it easily moved. I don't want a floppy halter. Some of them are floppy. You pick them up and they just fall they fall sort of flat. I like them to be not stiff, not floppy, somewhere in between, with some dense material, good knots. I don't know, that's probably about it, I think. So, I protest too much about the size of the cup. Well, you know, when people make comments, I gotta make comments too, right? Mustang was friends with the Frisian cross the huge coat and I was standing with his friend and peek out if anyone came in the pasture. Horses are cute sometimes. They could do some pretty adorable, weird things that you just think, what do you do that for? So, really looking at me. She says, can I come out and hang out with you? Oh, Hannah's just nibbling away. Hannah's taking a rest. She's been good. I trimmed her last, just before I got onto here, after making my coffee. Okay. D says, I like your videos. I learned a lot. I like your setup a lot. Thanks, D. Yeah, I like it too. This place is becoming more and more functional as time goes on. It's nice. You know, you sort of learn things as you go. I think I've shared quite a bit. Hopefully it's been helpful. I did answer that, Gene. I figured I did. Okay, if I've answered everything on here, which I think I have, let's talk about feet. Let's talk about trimming schedule. When I went, I'll start with a story of when I went down to this lady's last week. Last week? When the hell was it? Oh. Yeah, it was last week. New client, she called me up. I was a referral from another client, and she's come from, she's not local, so she's come from somewhere, come here, and needed somebody to trim because she's moved from farther away. That person's obviously not around. So she said, well, the feet are starting to crack, and it'd be great if you could come out as soon as possible and come trim the horse and whatnot. So when I showed up, I looked at the feet, and if any of you have watched any of my other videos on what when I talk about what is a good foot and a not so good foot and some of the things to kind of pay attention to, this was one of those sets of feet where I thought, I don't know if I've seen, I mean, it was essentially just some weird angles, some weird there was about 3 or 4 different angles to the whole hoof. It looked, I don't know how to explain it. I'd have to draw it, but essentially it was wrong. So judging from the outside, a lot of the times you can judge from the outside how the underside of the hoof is going to look and how you're going to tackle the trim. And this is one of those seats where I thought, I wonder what the underside looks like, because the outside looks so weird. So we started talking about where she'd come from, the weather there, the ground conditions, because when it comes to feet, weather and ground conditions and trim schedule, they all matter. They're all, but diet's very important. Did the horse come off of pasture, green, luscious grass, or did it come off old round bales? Does it come off of good quality Timothy or orchard? Is the horse old? Is it young? And so this was a young horse. I don't think it was very old. Maybe, I don't know. I think it was 8. No, 11. I don't know. So many horses in my brain. Let's just say 11. So middle, young to middle. In most cases for these types, actually I had an email come through and somebody had said their 4-year-old was diagnosed with pedal osteitis. If you don't know what pedal osteitis is, it is essentially a decalcification of the coffin bone, which is the bone that's inside of the hoof. It's this flat looking, triangle-y looking thing. And pedal osteitis in a 4-year-old is unheard of, in my opinion. I've never heard of that. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but that would be crazy. It would be silly. I'd like to see an X-ray of that kind of thing. I never heard back. I answered. I never heard back. But you never. Yeah. Why was I talking about that? Anyhow, going back to the horse that we were. This is going to connect for me in a minute, so we'll keep that to the side. Put a little pin in that one. Continue on with the story about the horse that I was working on, or going to work on. So we started talking about what kind of trim the horse had and how long the trims were. And she says, well, depending on the season, I would trim less or more often. I said, well, what's less or more? She says, well, in one or the other, winter or summer, it would be 6 weeks, and one or the other was 8 weeks. And I said, wow. I said, I think your trim schedule is very long. I usually try to say what I'm thinking. I try to give the best advice that I can give, while not being too rough about it or anything. But I had to say that 6 or 8 weeks is far longer than I would ever consider. I think that's very, very long. But the funny thing is that this is really common. The idea that you can trim a horse's hooves once every month and a half to 2 months. If I did that to Lena, she would have pancake feet in no time. I mean, and most of them do. 6 to 8 weeks shows. And that's why this hoof looked so weird to me, because it hadn't been maintained in a timely manner. Maintaining them in a timely manner is no different than maintaining your fingernails. If you let them kind of grow long and you're out and about and you're doing things with sand and rocks and dirt and you're using your hands, or maybe you build stuff, whatever it is, you'll break them and crack them and they'll get in the way. And so it's absolutely no different with horses, except they walk on them all the time. So to consider to go for a couple of months, and this is common advice, so I rarely think or look at owners and I think, oh man, what are you doing to your horse? I don't think those things. That doesn't occur to me, because usually it's by the advice of the people who are professionals in this area. They've been doing this for a very long time, and unfortunately it's a very old concept. Trimming 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in there, is a very old. It doesn't, anybody within the last 10 years or so, if you've been keeping up on how hooves develop, how they grow, how they get out of hand, how they don't grow properly, or flare out, crack, horses become lame and all kinds of stuff, you'll find that trimming schedule comes down to about every 3 weeks is pretty good. If it's a case where the horse is got some pretty bad feet, you'd probably come down to every couple of weeks. You could do tiny maintenance trims every week almost, and just it's no different than if you just took a file to your nails. Because if you cut your nails, they become weaker. If you file them, they're stronger. So if every few days or so, for us, as humans, if we just filed our fingernails, they would grow thick and strong on the ends, and you would have really tough nails. So it's no different for horses. The more often you trim properly, the stronger they get, the bigger they can grow down to the ground to properly lift them off the ground, the inner structures and whatnot. So the question about trimming schedule, or how often you should do it, it's a no-brainer for me, but only because I've probably spent thousands of hours studying and talking to tens or hundreds, probably, people that are either in some part of the industry or getting into it or are fully into it, and the groups that you can get involved with online as well. The more proactive groups, the ones that are doing a lot of research into diets and trim schedules and trimming styles and the structures of the foot. So we've done them here. We've looked at cadaver feet here. We've looked at dissections of feet here on this channel. And the science always points to one thing, that if you leave the trim for so long, 6 to 8 weeks, that the foot must distort. If it doesn't distort and crack and break, then actually it would end up sort of wrecking the inside of the foot. Gracie's an interesting example, because instead of flaring or cracking, she just kept going up and up and up till she was standing on what some people call tin cans. And that wasn't healthy at all either. Her feet had been left for so long that it's taken me a year to grow, and I'm still kind of growing out some weird stuff in the back that's been stuck in there for so long. But you can't get it all in one go. You have to just sort of maintain. And so trimming little often makes for much stronger and healthier feet. The problem that most people have is that they can't afford to do that. And that's the hard thing, for sure. I mean, if you're shoeing your horse, it's a little bit different because it's far more expensive. You're just trimming them. Still though, if you had only budgeted or considered that you'd have to do it every 6 to 8 weeks, it's a lot cheaper. But the true cost of maintaining feet, especially if they are in poor shape already, becomes higher. And it's just the way it goes for a little while. And then when they get into proper shape and stuff like that, there's actually a lot you can do yourself, which is why I've done some videos on how to maintain feet and how to trim yourself a little bit. So yeah, that sort of covers it. It's sort of some of the thoughts that, because all the horses here are on about a 3-week schedule. Tana's a little bit shorter, and Peggy's a little bit shorter. Oh, and Gracie is too. But the rest are all pretty normal schedules. The other thing that you get to discover when you do that doing that often is when, in the beginning, if they're messed up and you go to do these trims, in actually about a week or two, you'll see different growth happening. You'll see a different pattern emerge, and you can trim to that pattern. The hoof will, as some people put it, the hoof will tell you where to trim. So a shorter trim cycle yields many benefits. All cracks in hooves just go if trimmed properly. Just go away. You don't have cracks anymore. White line disease disappears. No problem there. Flare is gone. You don't have it. It stops existing because you're catching it before it can happen. And if you can catch it before it happens, you don't start that chain of events that causes the hoof wall to rotate or break off of the internal structure of the foot. So Anyways, that kind of covers that. I think that I've got out what I wanted to sort of say about that. And I don't know, I've seen a couple of things kind of pop by. Let me just check. Questions. Hoof stuff's a big deal. It really it's the hoof trimming farrier sort of world is full of a lot of different information, a lot of different people doing a lot of different things, sort of thing. But if you follow the science, you can't go wrong. You just understand how the internal. Anyways, it's getting into a more advanced conversation. Marianne says, I'd love to do in between trims my own or farriers as good as it is a rather long schedule. What's a long schedule? And you can do trims on your own. I tell all of my clients that they can do them. Some of them do. So, Nanko, property's looking good, lots of hard work. You're in phase 4. That's cool. Thank you. Kind of hard to blame people when they're listening to people who are considered professional. Better take a professional approach and educate further. 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a little long. It's true. Depending, some horses can maintain themselves. If you've got, like I was going to say, if the feet don't look that good and they're flared out, a short trim schedule fixes that much faster than a long trim schedule because you're not fighting the flare all the time. Think about if they're flared out and you sort of trim them up, you got to think about how big of a change you can make to not wreck them. And then if you leave it long and they kind of grow out and they flare out again, you're just fighting it. So you really, really want to stay ahead, because if they're flared, they're prone to flare. When they finally stand up on their own and they stand up, they're not this way where the heel's coming under, they stand up properly, then you can maintain that actually through a lot of natural movement, trail riding, rocks, gravel, things like that, and they'll actually maintain a heck of a lot better when you get them to around something good. Maureen, enjoy a coffee. Have it. Thanks. I do. I probably thank you for the coffee. I appreciate that. I am enjoying. This is a mocha. Actually, I put a little chocolate in here because I don't know. I eat a lot of sweets as well. I don't have any trouble burning it off because I'm pretty busy. To the amazement of some people that say, why aren't you getting any the way you eat? I mean, I'll eat half a box of cookies if I can. Okay, I'm moving on. What do you think of glue-on shoes? I like glue-on shoes. They're hard to do though, and they're a real pain to get off. If I didn't have to use glue-on shoes, I never would, because of that, because they're so much trouble to get off. And they're essentially a throwaway. So instead of a glue-on shoe or boot, I tend to use, if I've got to rehab something that has a very bad frog or an injury in the bottom of their hoof, I'll use a boot. But I'll use the ones that strap on with Velcro or something, and you can take them off, clean the foot, inspect the foot. If you glue something on, then you have to undo the glue and everything gets thrown away, and it's hard on the horse if you were to try to do that often. That's why shoes fall off all the time, because you can only punch so many holes in the hoof wall before it becomes Swiss cheese and you can't connect anything onto it. Recently, I feel like I took some shoes off. Anyways, whenever I'm taking shoes off, oh no, some shoes were taken off, but I did a trim. And the nail holes always it blows me away that it's considered a good idea to put holes in the hoof wall, because they're always black. Somebody's breaking a stick down there. Looks like Luke. Because the nail holes are always black inside, which is an indication of probable bleeding and or rot and necrotic tissues. So that's not good. That you don't want that. And the whole hoof wall structure is compromised for those areas. So not a fan of shoes because they're just, because of the results I see from them. It's hard. The more you know. So, anyways, I think I've answered all the questions on the chat. And most of the questions in the comments. I'm going to try to get to comments later on. I do have a couple videos that I will definitely be putting up. Lots to talk about, lots to do. It's finally completely stopped raining. It's a nice day now. Just a nice, little bit busy. It's rush hour. I mean, what is it? It's 5 or something like that. Yeah, 4:37. So, I think I've done my chitty chat for now. We can go say hello to a couple of horses if we want. Yeah, see, I just finished Ruli's feet. Ruli had an interesting problem. Actually, we'll talk a little bit about feet. Ruli had an interesting problem when she came. She actually had some overgrown stuff. And the underside of her feet were had some bruising. And you'll know bruising because it looks red or black. Black because whatever is in the sole, the blood that's in there has oxidized, and so it turns black. But if you kind of punch through it a little bit and it's red or purple, then it means that there's some old... you gotta see her. She's so adorable. She'll probably fall asleep on us. Anyways, so the bruising just... it goes away when you fix the overgrowth. Such a nice quiet horse, really is. Yeah, so yeah, her feet are looking, whoa, camera, pretty good. You can see that her coronet band is nice and straight, so her heels are up pretty good there, and her toes mostly in the right place. So yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. Okay, really moving on. Ohana, she's doing nicely. A lot of groundwork. I trimmed her feet so she would stop. She's got a couple of cracks on her feet. I don't know if we'll be able to tell from this distance. Probably not. But she's more of a pasture horse, and a lot of pasture horses are ones that sort of get out on a field for a while. They'll naturally just sort of have longer toes and feet because it's hard to get to them. Tana, she's doing very well. She's come out of her shoes. I've talked about her feet before. She's come out quite nicely. I'm very impressed and happy with how she's come along. What's going on, big girl? You've got a little bit of hay in your hair there. It's adorable. I don't know how you get it in there, but there it is. So, yeah, her feet are quite interesting, personally. See, those rings there are from the past, but the top bit is a little bit more solid. From the coronet band for about an inch or inch and a half or so. It's a little bit more solid than the rest. Just got to stay on top of her trims a lot because she's flared out. Just from having long toes. It's not a big deal. Just maintain it, keep it up. And there's those two at the back. I have not trimmed them yet, but I plan to. Today or tomorrow if I get the energy for it. And then Springer, way at the back. I did him as well, and he's coming off of a pasture, an old pasture trim as well, which means that he's got sort of some long toes and some flare. I want to show you guys something. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see it, but what the heck, we're here now. Let's see. No, they're not doing it. Right in the corner, right there, the goldfish have been going crazy, and I actually think that they're breeding. I don't know why, but right there underneath the grass. So they're not doing it now, but there would be 10 or so of them all all sort of congregated in this one spot, wiggling around a lot. So does anybody know if goldfish are live bearers or if they lay eggs? Because I don't know. I'm curious. I can't remember. I haven't looked it up. I was thinking about that today, but I haven't figured it out. Oh, she's come to say hello. Let's go say hello to her. Very sweet horse. She's got some worries and concerns overall, but very, very sweet. Right? Why is your mouth so furry? I don't have anything. I have no treats in my hands. Nope. I just wanted to touch your nose. She's such a big girl, though. She's huge. You gonna come over or what? Well, come on then. Well, reach a little more. Come on. Think she will? I think she will. I think she might. Oh, you're okay. It's okay. If I back up a little, she'll come forward. Let's see. Now we're just playing with her mind. She doesn't like the fence. See this little frayed bit right here. What if we come over this way? There you go. She's thinking about it. She's curious. She knows that it's a good thing, actually. You really want horses to respect the fences and not play with them and goof off them. She's a goof off. The only other horses that I've seen be total goof offs with the fencing is actually standardbreds. And so she kept playing with the fence over there, right there. So I put a bunch of line on there, and she's not played with the fence since. Oh, she's out. She says, "You're touching the fence too much." It's because I've sort of got my hand on the fence here. I think it's freaking her out. Otherwise, she'd probably come over. See if I flick it. Watch what happens. See? Horses get pretty worried. You see her tail flick? That's an important thing. Doesn't like it. I'll flick it again. Yeah, see, she gets a little worried. Says, "Oh, I better just go away, I guess." But she goes away so quiet and nice. Might as well eat some food. Getting better with hay bags. It's important to teach horses how to use hay bags. So, okay, I think really. Oh, she's out of hay. We better top her back up. Jeez, I was just in there half an hour ago. No, maybe an hour. Hour and a half. Yeah, top her back up. What about these two? Got to trim Gracie. She's really come a long ways. I don't know. I haven't done a thing on her feet in a while. It's a little mucky in here, but she's really come down. You see how she's got now an angle? I don't know if any of you have been paying attention to what I've been doing with her feet, but she used to have feet that just the heel height was the same as the toe height. So I've managed to get them both feet to a proper length. Ugh, it's so mucky. In comparison, those are Peggy's. So totally different feet, totally different trim style. The style and the kind of trim is totally different. I couldn't treat the two of those the same at all, even though I am treating the trim itself is the same concept. You're trimming to the internals of the foot, but you can't trim some parts too fast, or you'll give them a problem, which happens once in a while. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you'd like it to not happen. So I think I saw one question come in. Where was it? Is there any difference on how to trim a horse depending on if the horse is going to be doing like trot racing and whatnot. Oh my goodness. I think if I recall, Marianne, you've asked me some controversial questions in the past as well that make it difficult to answer because you start to bleed into what some cultures think is good for some kind of competing money-making thing. If we start to think about the locomotion, how do we talk about this? How do we talk about this subject and make it really about the science of it? The skeleton, yeah, the skeleton of the horse demands a particular trim. If it's no different than when we put our own shoes on, or we go barefoot, or boots, or high heels, or I mean, there are some pretty crazy shoes out there, you got to admit. And when you watch say we'll take high heels, or we'll take platform shoes, any of these things that are clearly offsetting the skeletal structure of the human. So just look at those just objectively. We don't need it to be subjective, whether we like it or don't like it, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. If we look at what it does to the whole skeleton of the person, you can't run in those things, at least not efficiently. You can't barely climb stairs. You'd have a hard time probably going downstairs. You'd have a hard time jumping because your feet are already extended. All kinds of things like that. So what we really need to consider for the horse is if we're trimming to what the skeletal structure demands. It's a very advanced topic, but I would say that I would never trim to a style of riding or a competition or a type of event. I would not trim to that. I don't care about that part. That to me likely means I am not trimming to the physiological requirements of the horse. So I think Luke knocked something down or something. I don't think the Wi-Fi will reach all the way back there, so I can't even go back there and check with you guys. Anyways, he's crashing around doing something. Such a troublemaker. Okay, so the answer is no. I would not try to trim to any type of eventing or something like that. I would trim to the way that the horse's conformation and skeletal structure and the hoof itself is indicating to make the trim fit the horse. That will make them the most efficient and best at what is happening back there? There's something happening back there. Hang on a second. Stupid coffee cup, stay. Let's see. Let's see if we can see what's happening. Maybe there's something in the woods. Don't die on me now, internet. We could probably be okay here. Let's zoom in. Whoa, that's pretty good zoom. Annette says her feet are looking way better. Thanks. Super grainy picture. Is there something happening back there? Oh, you guys are taking a look at the back and I haven't even shown you on a proper video yet. Anyways, that's what it looked like. What's happening back there? I don't see anything. A couple of crashes, some bangs. Roni's looking, or he was looking. Where'd he go? It's just forest here. You see the difference between the way it is now and it was maybe a month or two ago. And yeah, see, he's looking at something. Is there a bear? Do you think there's a bear? You can't see anything though. It's just green. Luscious green forest everywhere. See, but Springer's eating, so I don't think that... Roni's looking. What's he looking at? Oh well. If I figure it out, you guys will be the first to know. Lori! Oh, thank you very much. More coffee and cookies. Coffee and cookies. See, now Luke's just sort of looking this way now. What's happening here? No, nothing. It's starting to rain a little. Where's Roni? There he is. He's fighting with Lena. Maybe that's what's going on. He's goofing off in there. It looks like there's a branch down. You see right in the middle there? Maybe not. I don't know. I'll have to go back there. So, yes, anyways, thank you, Lori. Call Zeus. Zeus is inside. It's raining. Do you think that dog comes out in the rain? He does not. If it was a bear, what would I do? Nothing. Probably take a picture of it. Bears don't really do anything. They just kind of wander around and try to find stuff to eat. Moving on. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it'd be cool to see a bear here. I'd be pretty happy to have a bear here. So I'm not interested in reading. There's a difference in how a hobby horse and a trotter racer was trimmed and shod. Well, yes, trotting racer standard bred horses are trimmed, and almost always you'll find that they have heavily contracted heels and their frogs are just wrecked, decrepit, and falling apart. So you tell me, does it make them better at trotting and racing? Maybe. So they're good questions. There's probably some truth to it based on the culture of that horse world. I don't know. Have they tried to trim to, you know, what the conformation of the horse actually is? Would we ever know? They'd probably say they're doing it already. Well, then what's the difference? So I don't know. But I would say that I wouldn't. I don't know if they do, but I have seen some where they come out of their shoe. I mean, I've seen a lot of horses where they come out of their shoes and they got no frog. It's just fallen apart. It's been contracted and squeezed in, and that, in turn, the whole back of the foot is wrecked. And it takes a long time to get those ones figured out. See, there's nothing going on back there. Let's zoom out. It's probably getting... it's starting to rain too. Okay, let's travel somewhere dry. Should probably get my coffee. Okay, next, is there any more questions? You guys, looks like rain. Go inside. It is rain. Sue. I'm gonna say Bigfoot. Could be Bigfoot. That'd be cool. That'd be even cooler. I'd probably get a lot more business. Stable horse training, home of Bigfoot. That'd be fun. As for bears being a predator or something that would hassle the horses, it's I've never heard of a bear giving a horse a hard time. There, I'm undercover now. See? I had to rebuild this part of the barn as well. This whole top plate was wrecked and the posts were wrecked and this whole wall was decrepit, and so we did a complete rebuild. I never talked about that, but there. So no, bears aren't a problem for horse. I've never heard of a bear attacking a horse, or they'll kind of scare them and stuff. If you're out on a trail, and as usual, if you get in between, you know, sort of a mama bear and her baby or something like that, you're probably going to have some trouble, but you'd have trouble no matter what. But I've never seen a bear sort of go after a horse, or heard of it really. Outside of that, the horse might be sort of spooked and worried. But that'd be about it. So when anybody asks, you know, what do you think about bears showing up? I was thinking, cool, I've got an environment that bears want to hang out in. That's neat. Just a second while I... Oh, it's really raining now. Let's set this up right here. There, something like that. Hopefully it'll stay. I don't have to hold on to it anymore because it's a little heavy. Yeah, it's raining now. Check this out. Blah. There. So as for predators around here, though, I do get asked that an awful lot. What about, are there any predators? Are there anybody that, any kind of animal that we really give a horse a hard time? The only ones that we ever hear about here are sort of cougars or mountain lions or mountain cats or whatever you want to call them. And they have wrecked a few minis out there, sadly enough. They've taken a few minis to town. They haven't killed any of them, but they've really, really wrecked them, which is sad, obviously. Nobody wants their horse beat up on. So, anyways. Stay, camera, right there. Come off of being backlit. But yeah, bears, no problem. Wouldn't worry about it at all. I think it's cool. We've had a few bears. They come around, especially when it's berry season. Okay, any more questions? Or let's see. Bears won't eat huge prey. No, they got to be down. It's true. It's the horse would have to be either small or weak, but I just don't imagine that a horse would bother, so, or a bear would bother. Baby Gracie, yeah, she'd beat the... Wait till you see the video that's coming out pretty soon for Gracie. She's out with Peggy and Ruli, and I'll see if I can put that up tonight. It's a good one. I like it. It was yesterday when it was sunny, not rainy like it is now. And then I'll continue with Phase 5 stuff after that. I mean, horse construction stuff is not very popular on this channel. People are looking for horsey stuff, not construction stuff. Trotting is a combination of animals and money, not good for the horses. Yeah, I think so too. Where am I located? We're in British Columbia, Canada, in a small city called Maple Ridge. And it's a beautiful city. So it looks exactly what this place looks like. It's just a lot of forest, a lot of nature. Really nice to be around. So, yes, it's cold in Australia now. That's right. When I was doing winter stuff here, you guys were in your summertime. California is dry and brown. That sucks. We get a lot of, I mean, it's a rainforest. Where our environment obviously is pretty wet, moist. We get a wide variety of weather. So it's got its good sides and its bad sides in a way. You know, sometimes it rains too much. Last year was super rainy, so flooded all the time. And then the year before that, we had a massive amount of snow. That was a pain. That took forever to defrost, and when it did, it flooded and was messy. But this place is stays pretty dry because of all the work, the drainage and the gravel and stuff like that. So, hey, where did all my messages go? They're there. A temperate rainforest. I like Australia. It's a cool place to be. You're welcome for the answers. Yeah, for trimming. It's done. It's done by the physiological requirements of the horse. You have to. I think that to do it any other way sets the horse up for further discomfort and long-term pain. Decalcification of bones, which is, oh, that's what we were talking about. Decalcification of bones, and we got into pedal osteitis and stuff. I guess. Pedal osteitis is a very big deal. It's irreversible for the most part. If it's light, it's not that big of a deal. If it's been going on for a long time, then it's completely and totally irreversible, and you don't have a very good chance of growing a healthy foot ever. Uh, and that's sad. That's really hard to look at for the older horses, and you see them, and they're really wrecked, and they're really messed up, um, and you know that they'll never walk properly. You're just trying to do your best. Um, those are hard ones to trim, hard ones to be around. Um, would you put a horse down? Yeah, they're, it's, a lot of horses do get put down for it. It doesn't mean that you'd need to, because some horses can just be pasture pets, and they'll live out the rest of their life sort of just being out on a green pasture and living life pretty good. They might not be able to be ridden anymore. They certainly wouldn't be able to do any type of competition, or probably not much trail riding. You could boot them, put boots on and pads maybe, because essentially when you have pedal osteitis in a horse, they can't grow down a proper sole, which means they can't grow something healthy that is underneath the bones in the body, which is all of the sort of sensitive structure that exists, and essentially keeps your horse moving. So pedal osteitis is that's why it's kind of saying that on a 4-year-old it's unheard of, because it really takes quite a while to happen. You have to be trimming so poorly for anywhere between 5 to 8 years, maybe, I don't know, depends. From something healthy to, yeah, it takes a while. So anyways, there are cases that horses get put down because they're just not sound, and it's a very poor quality of life. They have to walk around on feet, they're totally pained. And so it's hard. Some people have 10 inches of snow. Ugh, I'm so glad we're going into summer. I don't want the cold. Oh, I hear a hummingbird. If the horse suffers, there's no need to be egotistical about it. If there's workarounds that makes it manageable, then you can do that. The horse is just suffering. There are workarounds. Sometimes they take a lot more effort than a lot of people are willing to do, or have the time for, or the education for. I mean, if you think about that, we're coming from places where people are trimming every 8 weeks or something. If you were to go as far to say, well, you should use boots and pads and clean the feet every couple of days and manage it. If you didn't want to mess around with your horse's feet more than once every month and a half to 2 months, you're certainly not going to want to do it every couple of days or 3 days or even every day, to bring them back from somewhere. The wet weather doesn't help. Muddy weather doesn't help. You got to manage diet. Some of these horses are laminitic. Lots at times. But then when you get the hang of it, when you understand all these chains of events, it's no different than if, say, you or a family member gets sick, and it's sort of an involved sickness, and you'll very quickly become an expert at it because you really want to know. Diabetes is a good one. A lot of people are like, what do you mean I'm diabetic? What does that even mean? Or any muscular dystrophy problems, any arthritic problems. It's not too long before you become an expert because you have to be. So no different for the horses. If you really want to, you can learn all of it, and then it's just a matter of just keeping up with new stuff as it goes. 10 inches of snow in Minnesota. Wow. I no envy here. We've had great weather. It's rained a little today, but it's supposed to kind of clear up tomorrow, and then get to some more rain, and then hopefully warm up again. So who knows, though, the weather report is always kind of wrong. But okay, I'm going to leave this at this for now. I've talked an awful lot. And I think questions are pretty good. I think you guys are pretty good with questions right now. I've talked about the hoof trim stuff, caught up a little on Q&A. I would definitely try to put together something a little bit more concrete in regards to trimming schedule and why. I've got some great examples in the shop that I can show, but I want to just talk about it a little bit, sort of put it out there, because I'm doing it all day. Oh, there's a hummingbird. There's no way I would have been able to caught it on video. You guys never would have seen it. But you know, putting it out there because I'm doing it, and so a lot of my live videos are exactly this. I'm working on something and I just got to get it out. So that's what this is. It's great to catch up with everybody. Thanks for everybody for coming in. And I'll see you tomorrow. You know, we'll be back online now, thanks to being done at the back. The back's come along really well. I don't know if I should I get this out really quickly? Should I try? Should we try to go back there a little? We should try a little bit, shouldn't we? But I'll point to the back. I'll just indicate we've made I mean, the progress is fantastic. The only problem is it's clay, right? So I'm still going to try to think about how to do that or deal with that. But I'll just finish off with a quick showing of the area. If the internet manages, we'll see how it goes. Whew, this sand. Got some new sand, right? It's very good. Whenever you're getting arena sand, make sure to get washed sand. Washed and screened. Gets rid of big rocks, and it gets rid of the really fine stuff, because the really fine stuff will just hold water, and it's awful stuff. Just makes soup. How's the internet holding up for the people that are still here? Any good? Had to move this thing around, this big log. Usually when I come into the back arena, it seems to catch the Wi-Fi or something, and it gets a little better. Well, how about that? I can actually make it back here. That's just crazy talk. What have I got for bars? 3 bars. Wow. Okay, we're back here. Ooh, little preview for everybody who's come live. So the other 3,000 people, you'll have to wait. The internet's great. So yeah, so this is the back area now. I've got this whole usable section. Got some good logs out of the deal, made a border over here. And over there is sort of the edge of the forest where there's a hole where we put our manure, give it back to the forest. And then this pathway here has been sort of redefined a little bit, built up a little bit so it doesn't see how it's puddled right here. So we know that the grade is a little bit low here, so I'll have to modify this a bit. But with this lifted up, I've managed to clean out a bunch of this slash that was here, push it off to the side so it's more on the edge, which is kind of good. It makes a natural fence line as well. And then these logs were all put in here to sort of define this pathway. Off into the forest we'd go and take a nice trail ride. It's going to be awesome. I love it. So yeah, so this area here is, as you can see, it's a little mucky, but I'll get that resolved pretty soon. For now though, it'll be a lot of work inside of here. Training, riding, groundwork, the usual. Everything you guys are already used to. Yes, Sue, it's true. And thanks everybody for all the compliments. Yeah, the slash and the wood that I got from the back. I mean, some of it's up front. I was gonna do a quick burn yesterday, but just ran out of energy and time. I was like, forget it. I can't do it before it starts to rain, so I tarped it all. So hopefully I can get something going and get rid of all those Oh, what's up, buddy? Want to say hi to the internet? The whole world. Stop bonking this thing. That's Luke. Yeah, so there's Springer and Luke. These guys are forest monkeys today. What were you guys doing back here? Are you crashing against something? Don't see anything. I wanted to clean up this stuff, but no time. I don't know. I don't see anything. No bears, no crashing things. What were you playing with? Hey. Bog the camera. Luke's getting lighter and lighter and lighter. He's in the summertime, he's quite light. We had a picture of him a while back, a couple of years ago or so, and he was just a completely, he was this color here, not that color, this color. And he just looked like a little kid. Scratchy scratch. It's amazing how flexible horses are. Okay, let's take a walk back up to the top. I'm going to finish this here. So now you've got an idea what the back looks like. We talked about hooves. All questions have been answered. Q&A is done. I've caught up finally. Videos are coming pretty quick. Closely playtime, some training stuff, which I have a pile of things I do want to talk about. It died. Not enough water when we had that hot spell for a couple of weeks. We tried to water it, but I was late. I didn't notice that it was starting to wither until it was too late. It was worth a try. Oh well. Okay, everybody, I will see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you, everybody who came, had a little chitty chat, said all very, very nice compliments, and everybody who has provided a little extra coffee. I appreciate it. It's just amazing. Really, really amazing. So, thank you. Okay, I'm going to get on with things here, but I'll see you guys again really soon. And the rain stopped again. Weird. Okay, good night, or good morning, or good evening, or whatever you guys are up to now.